2, 1, go. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our Sunday question and answer video.
You go on so long. I want to say hello too.
Introducing our show.
I want to say hi too.
Okay,
Say hi. Let me say
Okay,
hi.
Go say hi. Say hi.
No, we're a team.
Say hi. Say hi. Go.
Hello, everybody. There, I said it.
That's what we're waiting for.
That's what I just want to say hi. You can take over now. Go.
Welcome, everyone, to
Ask
our
me a question.
Sunday Q&A video where we take your comments and answer them here. So we'll get right into it here. We're going to start with B Gibson 9804, and this is with response to our video where we were talking about the new subdivisions seem to be taking a much bigger hit than older subdivisions, right?
Very true.
And so B Gibson says most people know older homes are built better, and so now I picked this comment because a lot of people will agree with this, right?
It's a very general statement.
General statement that I think a lot of people will agree with. But as we do on this show, as we do on all the shows that we put out, we try and give you a boots on the ground idea of buyers and sellers and how they're feeling and what they're thinking and stuff like that. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I could pretty confidently say that most of the buyers that we're taking through the house, if you have the same house that's, 40 years old versus 5 years old, and it's same size, just one's newer, you're not looking at that older house and thinking, oh, this one's built better, so we should buy this one.
No.
Right? And, I'm going to say 95% of cases, they're saying, the newer one, we like it better.
Yes. They might even say out loud, the older home is probably more solid.
Yeah.
But they'll pay more for the newer home.
Yeah.
It's a new home. People will pay more for that.
Yeah. And so it might be true, but also then you have the other part of that equation too, which is the older homes. Yes, they may be built better, but a lot of them are getting to the age, some of them can be getting to the age where they need some work, right?
Absolutely. And you got to invest some money in that.
Yeah.
And build better. I got to say, it's like we throw that around and
it's back when 2x4s were 2x4s.
you throw those expressions around. Oh, they were built better. They're built more solid. But the newer homes, unless you get like a crappy builder, they are more efficient. They're more energy efficient. They are, maybe the walls are a little thinner on the newer homes, but overall, the homes, the equipment in the homes, it's just the newer homes are more efficient, no matter how you look at it.
We just came out of a home, like right before filming this video. We just came out of a home that was built in 2019. That's a solid house.
Yeah,
right.
Great home.
So yeah. Anyways, next comment here comes from Yaniv Family Media, and Yaniv Family Media says, "Great content. Do we have any idea why they are holding off on linking CRA to the banks? How would it affect the housing market in terms of housing prices?"
I have no idea why they're taking their sweet time to link income to CRA statements, and specifically, if you're talking real estate, is linking the mortgage application to what applicants say that they earn versus what they submit to the government for, their taxes as to what they actually earn. I don't know. It's the federal government. We've been talking about this for years. It seems like a simple thing to me, but I'm in the private sector. I have no idea how the federal government could take so long with this. How will it affect the housing market? I personally don't think there's going to be a big change right now, today, because the buyer pool is so small. And I'm under the impression, like I can't quantify it with an actual number, but I'm under the impression there are fewer and fewer fraudulent mortgages going through the system today, specifically because of how much publicity we've had over the last few years on that. And the banks are cracking down on it. So I don't think today, if you would have asked me this question 3, 4, 5 years ago, especially at the height of the market, the peak, I would have said, it's going to remove a whole bunch of buyers from the buyer pool. it'll, affect prices. But I don't think today we'll even notice it. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So next comment here comes from Peter Plouffe 2836. And Peter says, as a sane older guy, I was brought up with the understanding that the roof over your head should be 25% of your income. Kids, cars, groceries, and savings for retirement were other items on the list. In today's world, the roof over your head is asking for 60% of your income. So as a realtor, what do you tell your clients to drop off the list? Kids is the obvious answer, but that has an interesting end. So when we get someone that calls us and wants to buy,
You got kids.
We give them the list and say, hey, pick which one you're going to X off so you can buy this home, right?
Yeah. Which of these two kids do you like the least?
Oh, man.
Look, things are way more expensive today than they were in the past. And it was possible back then. What did he say? 25% for housing?
25% of your income for housing. Yeah.
You could get away with that. My mom and dad, it didn't take up 60% of their income. There's a lot of people out there in the past, one income family. Usually the father was working, the mother stayed home, raised the kids. They were able to buy a house, a car. Not today. And that genie is not going back into the bottle. And so this is where we are. What do I say? I try my hardest to make sure they can afford the home. Now, what does that mean? Can you afford the home? Well, means different things to different people, but the people I work with, the mortgage brokers that I refer, the whole situation, I just want to make sure somebody can make their payments, can afford it. If something was to change, if interest rates were to go up, that they're not going to, I can't pay anymore just because of that little change in the interest rates. But at the end of the day, I asked them to consult with their mortgage broker, to consult with if they've got a finance person. People got to make their decisions as to what they're comfortable doing at the end of the day. We try our best, but people got to make their own decisions.
So we don't give our clients lists and tell them, hey, cut one so you can buy.
With just about every buyer that calls me and says, hey, I'm approved for 1.5. The next thing I say is, great, but what's your budget?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to spend the whole 1.5. What's your budget? And they'll often go, what do you mean? The bank approved me for 1.5. We can buy for that. I go, I understand, but that's according to the bank's numbers. What makes sense for you? Is 1.3 better? 1.2, 1.1, 1.4? Or does 1.5 fit perfectly in that you could comfortably afford your payments? And we go through that exercise, but it's up to the adult who's buying the home to really decide what's best for them.
Yeah. Okay. So next question here comes from William Carter 4705. And again, this was with regards to the video of newer subdivisions taking a hit. And William Carter says, is it because the further out you go from the 401 and GO stations, you find weaker demand on the fringes right now compared to closer GTA? At the height of work from home, these locations were in high demand and it's newer out there. I believe I see outer fringe newer subdivisions getting hit worse than my 20-year-old one in Markham. What do you think? Is it a reversing of what's more in demand compared to a few years ago?
That is great insight, and I would say spot on. That is the biggest reason the subdivisions many times are taking the biggest hit. Those ones specifically that you're referring to that are further away.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the subdivisions where there's so many for sale because they bought at such a high price. They took a HELOC on their home, or they thought they were going to sell their home to buy. and their home's value's gone down. There's all sorts of reasons. And there's just a lot for sale because of that. People bought a few years ago. They're having a hard time closing, or they don't want to close anymore because of the extreme payments that they may have. And so there's a lot for sale. And the more properties in a specific area that are for sale, that has a downward pressure on price. And they all look the same.
Yeah.
None of these homes stand out. So the buyers are basically, if you don't give me this price, I'm going to ask the other person selling 2 doors down if they'll accept that price. No, you say no, no problem. I'm going to go a few doors down and let's see what they say, because the homes are the same.
It's very similar to what we see in condos, right? You have a stack where, every condo, let's say ending in 10, has the exact same floor plan, right?
Yeah.
The changes are very different. Maybe you have different flooring. Maybe you have a different color cabinet.
And that's maybe different flooring.
But you have, for the most part, an identical unit. And a lot of these big subdivisions that are, out in the middle of nowhere, that's how they built them, right? Packed, compact, right? Put as many houses as we can on them. And they just reuse floor plans. So you're not really getting anything too special if you're buying in there, because everything looks the same, right?
They look the same.
Yeah. So, okay. Next comment here comes from Mike Thomas 6715. And Mike says, when you are calculating price per square foot, do you can take into consideration the parking and locker, or only the actual square foot of the unit itself?
The square foot of the unit itself?
Yes, it depends who you ask. If you ask the builder, they'll take that little strip outside of the door too.
So are we talking about what it sells at per square foot?
Yeah.
Okay, so I take into account the square footage of the unit itself.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I'm comparing one unit to another unit, one has parking and the other one doesn't, I obviously add some more value for the parking.
But you're not doing
the locker.
You're not doing it based on the actual size of the parking space in the locker, right?
No. Just the interior of the unit itself, the living space.
And you know what? It's so frustrating, because we've been seeing that issue more and more, where it's a pretty standard kind of measurement process when it comes, especially when it comes to condos, where it's like, hey, okay, interior space, right?
Yeah.
And like the builders, we know that they get creative when it comes to they're
magicians.
Right? Yeah. So, you have a 500 square foot unit that they advertise as 700 because it has a really long wraparound balcony, right? And they include that. But it's pretty widely known that in resale, you use the inside measurement. But there's a lot of agents. We actually had a client, or someone we were speaking to recently, that they were under the assumption, they bought a resale, they were under the assumption that they were at a higher square footage.
Yeah.
And it was because they were quoted the square footage of a total, including balcony and stuff, right? And they bought on that premise, and now here they are thinking of selling, and
and they're a little bit, they're at a different price point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because their square footage is not what they thought it was. But just on that, I do want to say, yes, so condos, it's inside square footage. Freehold properties, like say, we'll talk about a detached home. The square footage is outside brick to outside brick.
Yeah.
It's slightly different.
Yeah. Okay, so next comment here comes from Justin B369. And Justin says, hey guys, any way you can do your old music intro back. You really branded and stamped that intro. It's like Nike changing their whoosh to an X mark. It doesn't seem right. Back to the old intro music.
I like the old intro music also, but I'm open-minded to the new one. It's pretty cool, the new one.
Yeah, you know what?
The new one's pretty cool, buddy.
We've deliberated.
But I really like the old one.
We've deliberated over this for a while, and we decided that it was time for a change. And in deciding that it was time for a change, we actually switched providers for our sound.
That's what happened. Yes.
And so the provider for our audio now is a different company. And so
we got more choice now.
We got
more versatility.
Yeah.
You're wondering, it's just one song on Yeah, but we use the provider for songs and
Yeah.
music on our
For
property
home tours,
videos, our
everything.
home tours. We
So-
need the variety that we couldn't get from the previous provider.
Yes. And so, Justin, give it a month. If you don't like it in a month, then
Give it another month.
Give it one more month. And if 2 months from now you still don't like it, then I hope that the people that did like his comment and want us to change it back, maybe they started to like it after.
Right. So and then by then we're probably not changing.
Yeah. Sorry, Justin. I appreciate that. I do like it. It was definitely a nice part of our show, but maybe we can make this one a nice part of our show.
And you spent so much time
I did
finding the right song.
Justin, you know how long I spent, how many hours I put in trying to find a song that was going to be similar, but also just newer and something that would be nice and fresh. I tried, Justin. I tried. Anyways, next comment here.
That was the serious part of our show.
Yes, exactly. Next comment here comes from Shuttermax. And this is with regards to our video where the buyer ended up basically becoming a landlord because they let the seller's tenant stay in the property after closing.
Yeah, not a good situation.
Yeah. So they say, Shuttermax says, how is the buyer's realtor not liable for any of this? There should be some paper where the buyer signed off on all the issues as presented to him by his realtor, including all the risks. Isn't that their job?
Yes. I don't know all the background details of that situation. Specifically, what the realtor should be doing is having the client consult with their real estate lawyer so they understand the ins and outs. At the very least, a paralegal that has experience in dealing with these issues, and somebody should have told the sellers that, the buyers, somebody should have told them, said, listen, these people don't leave, or the minute they're there after closing, you're a landlord now.
Yeah.
And you're fall under the landlord and tenant rules. And if the agent told them otherwise or didn't guide them, there could be potential for liability there. For sure.
I think it's one of these things that we kind of see it more often now, but people just think these things are not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right. They have this conversation of, hey, listen, okay, so they need another week. And then, the immediate kind of thought that a buyer should have is like, okay, well, like maybe I should speak to my lawyer about this. Right. And had they spoken to their lawyer about that, the lawyer would have told them no, because the lawyer always errs on the extreme side of caution, which is great. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But like the realtors, and whether it's other agents that we deal with sometimes, or whether it's, other parties that are involved, like, it's just like, even if we'll ask like a client to, when they're selling, we'll meet them at the house maybe just before they finish taking all their stuff out, and they have some stuff left there, and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to leave. Like, they don't think it's a big deal. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just a couple bags of garbage. They can just put it out on the street on Friday when the garbage comes around. They don't think it's a big deal, but it's a big deal because part of the contract is that everything has to be out broom swept condition.
How many times have we seen it? We represent the buyer.
Yeah.
We show up. It's closing day.
Yeah.
It's closed. The buyer's going over to get their key. We're meeting him there. And there's a bunch of garbage on the front lawn for the garbage men to pick up the next day. And it bothers us. It bothers our client. It bothers us. I'm phoning, say, hey, get your stuff out of here. We're calling the listing agent. And he says, but it's garbage day tomorrow. That'll be gone. No, it's supposed to be gone now, like by closing. Tomorrow, it's not your home anymore.
Yeah. And we talk about it in the sense of like trash being left at a property, because that's something that's really common that we see. But at the end of the day, there's people being left at the property, and like I could easily see how that conversation went down. Right? It's just like, last minute, no one wants to kind of put a wrench in the deal, and it's just like, oh, they're just gonna stay there for another week. They just need another week. For you, it's fine. You don't need to move right away. Let's just give them the other week. You're gonna be compensated for it anyways. It's fine, right?
Yeah. Now I know. The simple, easy thing there would have been, if the buyer's still into this,
Yeah.
move the closing.
Yeah.
Say, no problem. They need another week. We'll move the closing if they can. Move the closing a week and only close with vacant possession. That's the safest bet you got. But I know a lot of people right away are going to be, when they hear this, they're going to be thinking, oh, the agent just wanted their commission. That's why. Maybe. But there's also a lot of people out there that are actually like, don't understand and know these things, and they're experiencing them for the first time. And they're just going to give their clients bad advice. It's not about, like, if it closes now or closes a week later, they're still getting their commission. So sometimes it's not about that. They just actually don't know.
They don't think it's a big deal.
They don't think it's a big deal. They don't really understand all the pitfalls in these decisions, and just give bad advice sometimes.
And almost on every deal, like there's things that are just not followed according to the agreement that, again, people just don't think is a big deal, which is crazy. But
how many times is that to us? We say, hey, what about this? Oh, what's the big deal? Oh,
we drive like a light fixture.
Light fixture. Somebody takes a light fixture. Well, what's the big deal? Your client's probably going to change it anyways. Oh, well, no.
What's the big deal? There's live wires coming from the ceiling. So no, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. But anyways, so last comment here comes from Angelo Verone. Angelo always ended off on a positive note.
Angelo, you're the positive.
Left us a nice message, and he always leaves a nice message. So thank you for all your support, Angelo. He says, "Thank you, Santo and Son. You have no idea how this video helped today. You guys are God sent. Ironically, Santo means saint in Italian."
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah, you should see. It's funny, actually. Every time we go to church, the times that we do go to church, anytime if we go to church in either Italian or Spanish, because that's our backgrounds, a lot of times they just say Santo, right? It's always Santo.
I'm always turning around. Santo.
Santo. And I look over and I just see my dad smiling. Just knowing that
my wife, his mother, gets upset every time. This guy, stop it! And
you're worse than a kid at church.
Why are you telling everybody that?
But anyways,
I go there. I'm quiet. I'm focused.
Because it's all about you, though, right?
That's right.
Anyways, all right. So thank you guys for watching this episode.
How did we bring religion in this?
I'm not sure. Jeez, but anyways, thank you guys.
Good thing your mother doesn't watch these videos.
I know. And if she does, she's not getting to the end.
My wife doesn't watch these videos, folks. Let me let you in on a family secret.
Oh, boy.
Have an awesome rest of your weekend, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for your comments. Leave the comments below in this video, in the videos throughout the week. We pick them, and maybe you can end up on next week's episode. Thank you. Have yourselves a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.